This is the number one reason why I'm not gonna use Orally.
7K Dreamer, please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. We are checking out the amazing Orally. Yeah, anyway, it's been a week since Orally released, and here I'm gonna talk about her equipment. Sorry, it's a bit fast. Double crit HP, Guardian Ring with high so that she doesn't get countered. Block rate, survive with 1 HP, and increase awakening gauge jewels with status cast rate so that she can cast isolation better. So basically the jewels are more defensive in nature. That's something you want to go for. For her traits, I've given her sleep, silence, and paralyze resist. You can go for any resistance for her except poison because she gives poison immunity to your entire team. Exclusive items are fully unlocked for soul skills, defensive in nature as well with a lethal rate buff. Okay? So we are going to check out the first team, and that is the Rangrid team with Orally and the 3 magical sisters. Sisters because they are forever there, they are always there on every single magic team right now. And Rangrid is there to provide lethal rate increase as well as status effect resist rate. Okay, so that's gonna be pretty important. Sometimes you can even counter and not get hit by Agnes Lane because of that. Okay. So Orally goes first with her bottom skill, which actually does isolation to 4 targets, so that's pretty good. As a whole, I felt that her skills are useful on their own. Okay, they're useful on their own because she has isolation, and her top skill also does magic amplification, which will boost your magic attack by 100% on top of the regular boost that Orally already provides on her passive. And that is actually a very good OP booster effect to the entire magic team, which is already pretty strong. But I found it really difficult to observe that because there's so much skill nullification going on, and if I'm not hit with a skill nullification by the enemy, you know, I go up against isolation. So it's actually very difficult to see those buffs coming into play, especially also because the enemy has very high block rate, and when the enemy has very high block rate, all your damage is nerfed anyway. So it felt like the amplification was a little useless, and there was not much effect observed. Okay, not only that, because anti on the enemy side also tends to reduce your magic attack by 50%, so that completely already counters Orally's passive. Orally just provides you with that mitigation effect, and you still have a negative 10% in place, right? Because anti does reduce magic attack by 50%, Orally only buffs magic attack by 40%. So you still have a negative 10%, and the booster is only for 3 times. So overall, you're still kind of at a slight disadvantage overall. Okay. And what I also felt is that her stats are just so bad. Now, she has many gimmicks going on, like her amplification, isolation, and even for her awaken skill, it resets by itself. So that's pretty efficient, but it doesn't do any damage. Okay, her damage is just so poor. And it's funny because she does have her own magic attack increase from her exclusive item as well. So it actually should make her pretty strong. Her stats is even higher than her other magic allies like Yeonhee. So it doesn't make sense why she doesn't do that much damage. Maybe, you know, I'm not on crit and lethal builds, but still, I do have a Rangrid here that gives lethal, you know, rate buffs, but it still does not do anything. So that's overall what I feel about her. I think she's really not that good in the first place. On theory it looks good, but in actual application, you know, in practice, not so good. Yeah, and she dies very quickly. So previously we saw a match with the Universal team. This here is with the offensive team, and I got obliterated very easily. Okay, usually if I face Fies who cast Agnes Lane from the start, I'm pretty much half gone. Really, there's no way out of that. Pretty difficult, but we try our best because this opponent's Fi actually casted Agnes Lane a little later, so not too bad. I still managed to do some damage before that, and my Yeonhee is actually on a 3-piece Storm set, and I think also Blessing, maybe not Storm set, maybe Blessing, 3-piece Blessing set, so she can hit a little harder. and I was hoping that would really save me, but it's really difficult. I'm sure many of you face the same idea and thought that Arena is getting very tough. Well, I think it's definitely true because I find it very difficult to climb. I'm stuck at this stage, but maybe because I'm also using Orally, I'm not too sure. Or maybe just my gear isn't as good as many other people. So that's gonna be a big problem moving forward. You have to really go for stamps if you want to push even higher, okay? Yeah, so for this team, I think this is actually one of the better options if you really want to use Orally. But why would you want to use Orally when there's Judas who can give you a much better buff or actually nerf the enemy hard? Because Judas can actually reduce their recovery rate, and the Judas rank grade magic team is actually one of the better magic teams out there. Okay, so I'm using that variation, just taking out Judas. Though I have to say that when I was running this team, the win rate was actually about 50% only, which is actually better than a lot of other Orally teams I've tried. Okay, so if you really want to give Orally a shot, I think this team is still one of the better options you can try. Here we are going up against a magic team, so I've showed you 3 different types of teams that this team has actually went up against. Okay, in terms of going against the magic team, maybe I have a slight better advantage because I have anti that reduces magic attack. So against the offensive team, I don't have that kind of debuffing effect on the offensive team, so I take a lot of damage. Okay, but against magic teams, I could still do something based on the magic attack buff that I have, and also based on the magic attack decrease buff that I'm doing. Of course, they also have the same effect back to me, but it turns out that it's actually paying off. After all, I think magic enemies are still slightly a little more frail. Yeah, unfortunately, this Judas has reflect. Yeah, so that's one thing also. So stamp effects, they really make a huge difference because you never know when an enemy has reflect now. A whole enemy team could have reflect, and you just, will take all this unnecessary damage, which is really sad. And of course, with this team, I have so many fails. You saw some of the better battles, and this was such a sad loss. I could have won. So this is the second team I tried, and that is with Abel instead. As you may know from the Abel video and from previous videos, I loved using this team, right? I was using Dire instead of Orally and with Abel in front because Dire really gives my entire team a big boost and also provides poison immunity, which is basically what Orally does as well, because Orally is kind of like a cheaper version of Dire if you think about it, except that Orally does buff magic attack even more than Dire, but of course whether that actually can be seen is another thing. So hopefully this team goes well. It was okay, I guess, but as the longer you play the game, since Abel's release, more and more people are having hide accessory on their entire team, so I don't actually get to counter that much. And if I don't get to counter that much, my Abel is basically like a dead hero because he'll just stand there and get damaged and die. Because he won't be life stealing, and he won't be countering, and I won't be damaging the enemy at all, and I'll just be having a dead unit there. So that is a big problem that I kind of face. Yeah, so I get slaughtered. Really unfortunate. As I said, Agnes Flame, once you get hit and you don't cleanse it in time, and then the enemy just strikes you over and over with AoE attacks, you are pretty much dead. So here we go up against a magic team instead. The win condition for this team is of course if the enemy doesn't have hide and you are able to counter, and you can land the damage from Abel's basic attack. That's your main win condition. Of course, if you do have the isolation happening from Orally and Eve, then that will be a lot better as well. In fact, another variation you can possibly use is with Red Grid, which I tested on the live stream. So you may want to check that out, and you may want to think of using an isolation based team instead with this setup, which is possible. The thing about Orly is that you must use her on a magic team, and without 3 magic heroes, she's not going to activate her magic attack increase. So you're much better off using Daya instead if you really want to use Orly in that condition. Okay, so she really works in a magic team only. Unfortunately, right now for the magic team, we are pretty much, just cycling through Eve, Anti, Yonhee. No, none of the good magic heroes so far. Of course, one of the other win con is if your anti gets your skill notification up earlier, you take less damage from the heavier hitting enemy attacks. But this is our RNG and we cannot really control this. But as you can see, once my Able is able to counter, I heal back and I do big damage to the enemy. That is definitely gonna help me big time. But imagine if the enemy did have height, I won't be able to heal back. Unfortunately, I won't be able to counter and do all this. So it's very reliant on this as well. Especially, I think any team using Able is very reliant on this fact that your enemy mustn't be hiding. If your enemy is hiding and you do not do turn decrease early, you are just stuck. You're really just stuck if you're using Able. So what I've seen from the top tier is that there's a lot more variation now, not just universal teams dominating. I think people have started to figure out that, with ambush sets on Rudy, you can actually reduce the buff duration very quickly, especially this is good for against height. So offensive teams with Jack now, more people are getting level 50 Jacks, especially the top tier players. So you're gonna see that variation as well. And then in terms of magic teams, I think it's not gonna change that much. It's just gonna be the Renegade and Judas team, magic team. Yeah. So this is the third variation I tried, and that's with Scoot and Rudy, because as we know, Rudy is a very good defensive buffer for the entire team, and I really hope that through Rudy, I will be able, to get some bulk onto Orly as well, and hopefully she'll survive a little longer and help to buff with Scoot. The good thing about Scoot is that she also increases damage dealt to universal enemies and offensive enemies, right, for magic heroes. So with all these multipliers stacked up together, I'm hoping to see very good and big damage from my side, and also with more defensive capabilities, hopefully this team can be better than the previous two. Here we are facing a magic team. Okay, this is pretty much the magic team right now, the meta magic team. And I think it's quite tanky, not gonna lie, but if you have a very strong counter unit with very strong effect attacks, you can cripple it very quickly, as you saw from my Yonhee just now. Same thing though, the same thing they can do to you. If they hit you with effect attacks, you are pretty much gonna be screwed as well. Now I found that my Rudy moves a lot, despite not having skill use chance. He just goes for it. When I really wanted to see the damage from Scout, because I think Scout can really shine as well in this context if you give her the right gear. So while Orly's Awakened skill did kill off some enemies, I still don't think it's that amazing. Somehow her crit and lethal damage itself isn't as high as well. So even if she lands the crit damage, I felt that it's just not strong. And she gets blocked very easily too. Maybe I'm just unlucky with the enemies I face, but yeah. To be honest, when I was recording this video, it took an hour, to cycle between these three teams. And whenever I won an enemy, I felt really embarrassed because I felt that the enemies that I won against, they weren't geared 100% to the best of their abilities, because some Abels that I face don't counter that much, which means he wasn't dealing like 5-digit counter damage, you know. So I could win that, I could tank against that. And then we had some fights that didn't use Agnes Flame till half the offensive team is gone. So it's this kind of situations where I won. And it didn't exactly showcase the unit really well, it didn't showcase Orly really well, it was just maybe just good RNG for me, you know. As you can see here, that was like what, 38,000 Agnes Flame. I can't even. Yeah, so it's just very tricky right now. I can't even be sure whether I'm winning because of my team or my gear, or is it because the enemy isn't just geared as well, you know what I mean? And technically we're all at the same tier, so I'm expecting, you know, at this point of the week, I'm expecting those who have climbed to have already moved up quite a bit. And those that are still at this tier, it's just that we have that level of gear that maybe we are not just climbing easily upwards. Or of course, I know there can be players that have just given up on climbing as well. So yeah, once again I'm destroyed by the offensive team. Offensive team is really powering up because of Jack, and in 1 week's time when we are getting Chip, I can't wait to see how much more they can progress, because I think Chip is going to be a very valuable asset to the offensive team as well. Here we are facing a universal team. As you can see, the Abel didn't actually counter and hit 2 times on his basic attack. So it is this kind of advantage that could give me a little bit more win rate. So Orly did cast the isolation, which is great. That's why I say I feel that her skills are really useful on their own, but it's just on the wrong hero, you know what I mean? Because she's so frail, she cannot do damage. So even when she uses a skill, I feel like sometimes it's a waste of a turn, simply because, okay, the isolation is good, but the skill, the magic amplification one, you know, firstly the effect can't really be seen if there's so many skill nullifications going on. Secondly, there's just a lot of damage mitigation as well, so the true potential can't be seen at all. And there are times when I've seen Orly herself with her own amplification. She deals 3-digit damages to enemies, 3 or 4-digit on her basic attack. I mean, that's incredibly sad with 100% amplified magic attack, you know. So yeah, I just felt that it's really bad. Like, the kit is good, it's just not on the right hero for a blue frame. But then it was, you know, going back to that, she is a blue frame, so what can we expect, right? Here again, I'm getting destroyed by a universal team. So yeah, I'm not afraid to put the losses, because this is really what it is, you know. I have more losses than wins, and even if I had the win, I think it's not exactly right, you know, to put them up, because I feel that she's not as good as that video will show. And even if I won, it was because of other heroes and because of the enemy not having certain gears against me, right? So yeah, I hope this video shed light on Orly in a very balanced way. And if you found it helpful, do give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Big shout out to my channel members ZMD Phoenix and Maki for the support. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much and see you!